Hello, and welcome to my channel. So if you haven't guessed yet, we are talking about friendship breakups. So before we get into it, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Pamela Abiola, and I'm a life coach who is passionate about helping people become the best version of themselves. I'm also a charity co-founder of Revive Congo, which is a charity that is all about educating and equipping Congo's future leaders in the UK and in Congo. As well as this, I'm a wife and a mother of two. So let's get into it. Friendship breakups. So the other day, I asked on my Instagram story if anyone had experienced friendship breakups, because for me, I know that I've experienced a few, and there has been a particular one that really hit me and took a long time to get over. So I asked a few questions on my Insta story, and I asked people to also share their experience. So if you do want to have a read through and check out other people's experiences, make sure you follow me on Instagram and share and check out the highlights. So why have I chosen to speak about friendship breakups? Friendship breakups for me personally, I feel like they are equal or even can be more impactful than romantic relationships. And that's basically because when it comes to friendships, like, let's be honest, like, especially us ladies, like, we really invest in our friendships. Like, we try and make sure that we go in for our friendships. Like, we go to the birthdays, go to the events, like, try and, just be there for our friends. And obviously, as we know, sometimes friendships can come to an end due to, like, just different factors. Sometimes it could just be that you guys have grown apart, or because of, like, a situation that could have been prevented or could not have been prevented, if that makes sense. And just sometimes we just get to a point where the friendship breaks up. And yes, sometimes there's reconciliation and sometimes there's not reconciliation, but let's be honest, it really can impact us. So today I am going to be sharing one of the friendship breakups that I experienced, because I really want to have this honest conversation about this topic, because I've seen, like, even on Twitter, even on Instagram, I've seen that people are more happy to talk about it. Like, people are ready to have the conversation. And for me personally, I would love to share, like, a particular story, and also just not only share the story just for the sake of sharing it, but also, like, let you guys know what I learned, what I could have done better, and how it's made me a better person and a better friend. So just a little disclaimer before I continue. I'm going to try my best to give as much detail as possible without the person being identifiable, if that makes sense. But if you do watch this and you know that you're the person, just know it's all love, and I'm not trying to discredit you in any way, shape or form. I'm just trying to share the story from my perspective, but also I'm trying to share what I learned and what I could have done better. So it's not about you, it's more about me. It's more about what I could have done better to help other people out there that have experienced friendship breakups or will experience friendship breakups, so they know how to deal with it better. So without further ado, let's get into it. And just to let you guys know, if you see me looking this way, I've got some notes, because I want to make sure that I don't forget to say anything. And if this video does get a little bit long, I probably may do a part 2. I won't do a part 50. I'm not going to do a Aretha Tessa on you guys, but I may possibly do a part 2. So this particular friendship breakup, where do I begin? So we were friends for over 10 years. We met at an educational institution. So that may have been secondary school, college or university. So initially when we met, we weren't really friends. Like, she said to me that she found me annoying, which is fair enough. She said, like, I just used to, like, talk all the time. And if you don't know me, I am a bit of a chatterbox, right? My friends will say I'm a bit of a chatterbox. So she just found me, like, a bit annoying. But anyway, I don't even know how we became friends. It just, like, one of them ones that it's been, like, over 10 years. I don't know what it was that gelled us together. But I do know, like, we started talking like via Facebook. This is pre-WhatsApp days, right? this is pre-WhatsApp days. This is them times that when you're speaking like on your, on your computer, on your, not even a laptop. I can't even say laptop. I didn't have a laptop. It was computer days. So we would like talk on Facebook, talk on BBM, and then like sometimes after school, like we would like go to the park or chill, just do all of that stuff. It was really nice. Like it really like grew organically. It felt like she became part of my family. I became part of her family. So when her family are doing events, I'm going. When my family are doing events, she's also coming. Like my family loved her. They still love her. We were just, we were family. We were there for each other. Like I even remember a particular instance, like when it was time for me to go back to either my second year or third year of uni, and I didn't have any money for like accommodation, and I was just like, oh, how am I gonna like get this accommodation sorted? Anyway, I had sorted out the money and I forgot to tell her. But long story short, because like we kept like, because it was them ones, like when you're young, like you just like lend each other money, it's nothing. Like I forgot to tell her that I had already sorted out the money, but she literally sent me like this money. I think it was like £400. And I saw my account and I was like, oh, you just sent me £400. And she was like, yeah, because you said, you needed money for your deposit. And I was like, no, I sorted out already. So I sent it back to her. But that's how she was. Like, she was ready to always help, like always ready. Even with like my relationship. So we were friends since I started dating my now husband. So like when me and my husband used to have like lovers tiffs and stuff like that, I would literally call her and be crying and be like, oh, it's over, we're done, like we're not getting back together, them ones. And she was like, I think one of the first people I told when I got engaged. Like I remember she came to the house, she came with a planner, like she was just ready and she was there for me. So yeah, like we had this relationship where like we could really be honest. Like we were, okay, let's be honest, right? You have like friends that you can be honest with about everything, and there's some friends that you can be honest with a little bit, and some that you just don't feel, you just don't feel like you can be honest with, right? She was the person that I could be honest about everything to do with my life, everything to do with my insecurities, everything to do with my finances, with my relationship, with my family. Like I never felt judged, and I was happy because she was the sort of person that she wouldn't tell me what I wanted to hear. She would literally tell me what I needed to hear in that particular moment, and I really appreciated it, and I valued it, and it was just, yeah, she was and she is still amazing. So what's happened? How did this friendship breakup, take place? Essentially, life just started changing for us. Like we were no longer at the same educational institution, so we wasn't seeing each other that much. I'm going to be honest, in this moment in time, I felt like I could have been a better friend in terms of turning up to her events, because she would turn up to my events, like even if we had like kind of this ritual, right, where we would see each other for our actual birthdays. And there was one point, like when I was at university, she literally travelled to my university on my birthday just for a few hours and went back to her university. And she literally travelled because we kind of had like a ritual going on. Not a ritual like that, not like some mad ritual. But when it was our birthdays, we knew, okay, we're seeing each other on our birthdays. But I felt like I could have done better in terms of like, when we weren't seeing each other that often, if she had like an event or something, I could have been better at attending her events. And I feel like just across the board, that's something that my friends will probably say, that, I would say that I am a good friend. Like I go hard for my friends, but I do know that because my schedule and just the way that my brain works, sometimes things can be very hectic, that I'm not so good at communicating how hectic and how overwhelmed I'm feeling. And I tend not to like come to events, or sometimes it's not even because things are hectic. Sometimes I haven't planned my day or my time properly. So yeah, I just wanted to just add that bit of information there, and just for you guys to understand like how it started kind of going downhill. So yeah, we weren't really seeing each other as much. I could have done better in terms of going to her events. And I kind of felt like I was the one that was always checking up on her. So I felt like it got to the point where and I think it annoyed me because I would look at our WhatsApp messages, and it just really felt kind of one-sided. It felt like I was always like messaging her to see how she's doing, what's going on, but I never felt like I would hear from her. Unless it's my birthday or an event, I never felt like I would hear from her. And then I know that there was a particular time where something happened. I think she had made like a speech or something, right? And she didn't mention my name. And I was like, rah. Like, she was like thanking everyone for like a particular thing, and she didn't mention my name. And I remember I pulled her up on it the next day, and I was like, I felt like I was there for you during that, that time where you were thanking people, and I didn't get a thanks. And she was kind of like, oh yeah, sorry, thanks, sort of thing. But to be fair, like, just to give you a bit of context, the way that she's quite different to me. Like, where I'm more like, an emotional sort of person. Not that she's not emotional, but I'm a lot in my feelings, and she's not. So she didn't mean it in a rude way. She was just like, okay, sorry, thank you. And I was like, okay, cool, that's fine. And then yeah, I just felt like I was just checking up on her. I felt like it was no longer reciprocal at that time. And then I think I started taking a back seat where like I just stopped. And again, this may have been the wrong thing to do, but I stopped sharing information about myself. So as the months and years went on, I think there may have been one or two times where I mentioned that I felt like, the friendship wasn't reciprocal, but I didn't get the response that I wanted from her. So I just left it. And I got to the point where I just thought, do you know what? I'm just not going to share what's going on in my life. I'm just going to whatever. I'm just going to kind of do me, really. Like, we're still cool or whatever. But I feel like I'm getting these kind of signals that it's not being reciprocated. What I'm doing it's not reciprocal. But, upon reflection and even saying this now, I feel like maybe I didn't understand that the season was changing. And I feel like that's what can happen sometimes. Like, sometimes we can take offense and not understand that it's not that the person is doing something wrong, or it's not like something has happened. It literally is that the season has changed. Like, there was a time where we used to see each other all the time. So that's why we were in close communication and constant communication. But now we're not seeing each other all the time. Things are changing in our life. We're getting married, we're having children. And, during that process, we're also meeting other people that have more similar interests to us in that particular, during that time. So I feel like I could have probably done a better job at understanding that the season is changing, and that it may just be that our friendship should have was evolving into a friendship where we see each other at birthdays, our children's events and stuff like that. Maybe I didn't get the memo, if that makes sense. So that was all happening, and then after a few months, so I think she invited me to something, but I was pregnant at the time. I was in my first trimester, and I was having like severe morning sickness. So I didn't want to say that I was pregnant. So I was just like, I'm really sorry, I can't make it. But obviously it was a major event. It was a big event, and it would have meant a lot to her, especially because it was limited invitation. But I think I didn't want to say that I was pregnant. Again, like I said, I was kind of like, I feel like if it was before, like when our relationship was how it used to be, I probably would have been more open and said, I'm not feeling well. It's kind of like, pregnancy, or maybe not actually, maybe not, because first trimester, you don't usually tell people. But anyway, I was really sick. I didn't go. So then that was in like, let's just say that was in like a May. I remember the year, but let me just not add that detail. But it was in like a May. And then the next time we spoke properly was in October. So I believe she messaged me in October. And then she was like, oh, how are you doing? It's been a long time. And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm pregnant. I've moved out. I'm no longer in London. And then I think she called me and she was just like, what? Like, all of this stuff has been happening. Like, what do you mean? Like, you know, how come she didn't know about it? And then I used that as an opportunity to be like, you know, I just felt like over the last months and years and stuff like that, it's not reciprocal. I check in on you, you don't check in on me. Like, so I just didn't want to share this information. And then she even brought up, well, you know, you missed a particular event that was very important. And then I explained to her I missed it because I was, you know, I was pregnant and stuff like that, which she understood. But anyway, there was one thing that she said that really kind of was like a bit of a shocker. There was one thing that she said that was a bit of a shocker to me, which was about expectations. I'm just going to put it that way. It was about expectations, something along the lines of expectations, right? And that took me aback. Yeah, that took me aback, if that's how you say it. And I was just like, I kind of felt like, like in a relationship, I think you should have expectations, but I kind of, maybe I misinterpreted it. So again, if you're watching this, sorry, but I kind of felt like it was don't have any expectations of me. And I kind of took that, you know, to heart, because I was just like, in a relationship, in any relationship, you should have a level of expectation. But again, maybe my expectation should have lowered, or I should have managed my expectation better after things had been changing in our relationship. So maybe, you know, it was kind of my fault, if that makes sense. So anyway, we kind of agreed to disagree in that conversation. And, you know, we were going to like make it work. We were going to do better. So then I had a particular event happening, but because of the way that conversation had went, I didn't tell her about this particular event, right? And social media got me into trouble because she basically saw that this event had happened and obviously she hadn't been invited. And she was very upset about it, and rightly so. I now understand why she was upset about it. But at the time, I honestly didn't think that she would care. I honestly felt like, especially from not hearing from her from May to October, I honestly felt like she's not going to care. Like, do you know what I mean? It's just an event. But anyway, she was really upset about it and she apologized. She was really apologetic. And no, actually, oops. Yes, she was actually. She was apologetic. She apologized. And then I did the wrong thing. I'm going to put my hands up here. I did the wrong thing and I played down the event. I played it down and made it seem like it was a last minute thing, and it wasn't. So again, if you're watching this, I am sorry, because it wasn't a last minute event, and I think she knew it wasn't. But my thing is that I didn't want to hurt her feelings. I felt like we were in a better place, and I was just like, at this moment in time where she's apologetic, where we're apologizing to each other, like, let's just start over. But anyway, social media got me into trouble. And it's not just social media, it's myself. I got myself into trouble because I decided to share more pictures of the event. And then that's when she was just like, you were lying, like you lied to me. You said that it was a last minute thing, but clearly it wasn't a last minute thing. And then that's when we then started to have this conversation, this back and forth, where I was trying to explain to her that I didn't want her to know that it was an organised event, because I didn't want her to feel bad and to feel left out and whatnot. And I don't think she was buying it, which is fair enough. But the honest truth is, sometimes I feel like I think about people's feelings too much, but at the same time, I knew I shouldn't have lied, and I like I said, I hold up my hands to it. I shouldn't have lied. But anyway, we were doing a lot of back and forth, and she was just like, that's quite, it was quite deceitful and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, it was deceitful, but I'm sorry, like, I didn't know where our relationship was, and I didn't feel like you needed to, I didn't know where we were at in our relationship. So we were doing a lot of back and forth, where I think I started kind of like being more open about kind of like maybe the past, about things that I felt like I don't know, she could have done better or something. I don't remember. But we were doing a lot of back and forth. So we were like replying to each other from like the night before. And then it got to the morning, not constantly, by the way, because obviously you sleep, you got to do other things and stuff like that. We're busy. But then we got to the morning and we were kind of like, you know, we were winding down in terms of the conversation. And I was just like, do you know what? I'm sorry, da da da. I hope like we can just, you know, move forward from there, be in a better place and stuff like that. Like now that this is all out in the open, let's start again. And that's when she ended our relationship and essentially broke up with me.